Welcome to Her Expat Live, the YouTube channel that is dedicated to bringing you the most relevant and up-to-date information to help you advance your global lifestyle, especially if you are a female navigating this complicated space of being an entrepreneur, digital nomad, or expat. And today we are going to chat to a senior lawyer from our partner Talenom, whose name is Toni Musalaev. And we are going to deep dive a little bit into the digital nomad visa for Spain. So on our channel previously, we have discussed this topic, but we discussed it when it was first launched. And since then, a lot of the uncertainties that lawyers and people in general weren't clear about as the Spanish government information, a lot of that has been cleared up. So we are going to recover this topic in the hopes that those of you at home that had questions that were unanswered previously can get more clarity on this. And just to introduce Talenom, okay, for those of you at home that don't know, Talenom International Mobility aims to ensure that you successfully launch your life and business in Spain and remain well advised throughout your venture. They cover all legal, tax, accounting, financial, strategic, immigration, investment, and administrative questions regarding the mobility of business entrepreneurs and employees. And here at Her Expat Life, we have partnered with the team at Talenom to offer Her Expat Life members a free 15-minute consultation, as well as 10% discount on all services here in Spain. That is only for Her Expat Life members. So make sure you visit herexpatlife.com to register for our membership program and get access to not only this discount offer from Talenom, but also exclusive pricing packages to some of the best co-working, co-living luxury resorts internationally. Okay, so Toni, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we start, can you just give us a little bit of a background as to who you are and what your role is in the company?
Sure. Thank you so much. Well, my name, as you said before, my name is Toni. I'm a senior lawyer in Talenom, and my area of specialization is basically the immigration law, and also sometimes I deal with criminal law. Okay,
perfect. Okay, Toni, let's start off with the basics. First of all, what is the Spanish Digital Nomad Visa, and who is eligible to apply for it?
Okay, well, basically we can say that it's a work and residency permit, that allows you to work remotely from Spain for your company or client, because it's also allowed for people who are self-employed, which the company and client are located out of Spain. And saying like who is eligible, we can say that any qualified professional who can prove that he can perform his work remotely 100% from Spain and with the permission of his company or the client. Okay.
Okay, perfect. And if someone is interested in applying, what are the requirements for obtaining a digital nomad visa?
Okay. Well, there's some requirements. So we can say, first of all, you will need to prove that you are, I cannot say that it's a highly qualified profession, but you have some like work experience. Maybe you can show it with the university degree or a master degree. But in case you don't have any kind of university or master degree, then you can prove with a work experience related to this job position at least 3 years. Okay, this is going to be one of the first requirements. After that, we can say that there's a 3 months of seniority. So basically, you have to work for this company, which is located out of Spain, for at least 3 months before applying for this work and residency permit. Also, at the same time, this company or the client of yours has to be active in the market. Imagine that you're working for a company which is located in the United States for at least 1 year. And as I said at the beginning, you have to work 100% remotely. You cannot say that you're going to do the 80% of your job from Spain online and then the 20% out of Spain. It has to be 100%. Then another requirement, which is one of the newest one, it's like the salary that you must perceive. Currently, right now at this moment, you have to perceive more or less 200% of the Spanish minimum professional salary, which is currently 1,080 euros. So you have to double this amount of money, and you have to prove before the Spanish Immigration Authority that you at least receiving this money every month. Okay. As I said before, also, you need to have a specific authorization of your company or of your client to work remotely from Spain. And plus, you need to have a private health insurance. And in some specific cases, because there is an agreement with Spain and some countries of the world, that you will need to process a specific certificate of coverage in social security matters. Okay, for example, there's a specific certificate of coverage of social security matters with Spain and the United States of America. If you're dealing with another country, it could be, for example, India, so there is no this kind of certificates, then you will need to be registered here in the Spanish Social Security. And this is basically all the basic requirements in order to be able to obtain, at least to ask for this work and residency permit.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. My next question is, how long is this visa valid for?
Okay. Well, there's a different forms to request this visa. If you're requesting this visa out of Spain, imagine that in a Spanish consulate of your home of residence, if you ask in the consulate, it will be valid for 1 year. Okay, and then you can enter with this visa, which will be stamped in your passport, and work here from Spain for this year. But I always recommend, for example, for a person who is applying from Spain, imagine that you enter Spain with a tourist visa. Okay, you enter with a tourist visa, and while you are in a legal situation in Spain, you ask for this visa from Spain, which will be valid directly, not for 1 year, but for 3 years. Okay, so I think this is very important because you will have directly a work and residency permit granted for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, and then you touched on this quite briefly, but just to clarify, can a digital nomad who is here on this visa, can they work for a Spanish company while on the digital nomad visa?
Okay. Currently, in the way which is regulated in the law, it seems, and I think it's 100% sure, that only a person who work for themselves, they will be allowed to work for another company in Spain. But this is a very important requirement. So basically, if you are an employee working for another country, for a company located in another country with a contract, you won't be allowed to do that. But if you are a self-employed person and you have a client out of Spain, in Spain, if you want to work for another company, you will be able to do that, as long as the percentage of such work does not exceed the 20% of the total professional activity, which is very important. So the only way right now, because this is very important, because we don't know if after 6 months they will change the regulation, but right now only you can work for another company in Spain if you are self-employed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. And then, are digital nomads in Spain allowed to use co-working spaces or other facilities on this visa?
Until today, we're not aware if there's any kind of instructions prohibiting this. So from my legal opinion, you can do it. Of course, you can use co-workings because there is no regulation prohibiting this kind of places. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. And then you touched on this as well briefly, but I just want to reiterate the minimum income requirement for obtaining a digital nomad visa. What is this number?
Okay, right now it's like, I would say it's like 200% of the Spanish minimum professional salary, which is right now 1,080 euros per month. So it will be monthly like 2,160 euros. Plus, this is important. This is just for one person. If you're coming, for example, with your partner, you'll need to add a 75% of the salary, as I said. And if you come in also with your children, it will be for each child like 25%. You also need to add this amount of money.
Perfect.
And also, it is very also important to know, since I was discussing this matter with the immigration authorities. If you don't have this enough money per month, what you can do, for example, is also present a bank certificate stating, hey, I don't receive this money, but at the same time, I have this savings in my bank account, and the work and residency permit will be granted.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And then another question that we have is, what happens if someone who is here on that visa wants to stay longer than the visa allows?
Okay, well, as I said at the beginning, if you apply that from Spain, it will be granted for 3 years. Okay, once it's coming to an expiration date, you can proceed with the renewal procedure. Basically, you will need to prove again before the Spanish immigration authorities that you have the same conditions, the same work contract, the same salary, etc. And if you meet all these requirements, so it will be extended for 2 years more. And the good point of it is the first one is granted for 3 years. You renew it, it will be granted for 2 years more. And after 5 years in Spain, what you will be able to do is to ask for the long-term residence permit, as long as you have lived in Spain all this time. And the good point of this of this long-term residency permit is you won't be depending anymore of any company. It's just about your residency. And after that, after these 5 years, you will be able to work for one employer, another one, etc.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then we touched on this again briefly, but just to clarify, can digital nomads in Spain receive healthcare benefits while on the digital nomad visa?
Yes, the thing is that, as I said at the beginning, there's some countries that they have this agreement in Social Security. For example, with the United States, I put as an example, if you obtain the certificate of coverage, then you won't need to be able to register here in the Spanish Social Security. But plus, you will need to present the private health insurance. So, in principle, you won't be allowed to get this public health insurance. But in some places like Catalonia, for example, it is not necessary to be registered in the Social Security, and you will be able to obtain the public health insurance since it's considered a universal right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Are there any restrictions on the types of work that digital nomads on this visa can do in Spain?
I would say no, as long as you can prove all these requirements and you can work remotely, there is no restrictions. Of course, if you're an employee, for example, you cannot start work. Imagine that you change the employer during the digital nomad visa. If you change the employer, then what you need to do, it's like ask again for another digital nomad visa, but stating to the immigration authorities very clear that you have changed the employer, the conditions maybe have changed a little bit, but there is no more restriction than that. I mean, you always have to, very important part here is that if there's any change, always you need to communicate it to the Spanish immigration authorities.
Okay.
Okay.
And then again, briefly, you mentioned this in passing when we were talking about the financial requirements, but is it possible for somebody to bring family members with them on this visa?
Yes, currently you can bring your partner. Of course, all of this, you'll need to prove it, okay? If you can bring your partner, you can bring your children of minor age, or if they are of legal age, they have to be economically dependent of you. And you can also bring your first degree ascendants, and you will need to prove before the Spanish immigration authorities that they are economically dependent on you. But yeah, there is a possibility, and you can apply it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Is there a limit as to how many people you can bring with you? How many?
No, there is no limit, as long as you can prove all these requirements, like economically dependent, and that's your children, etc., etc.
Okay, perfect. Okay. The next one, what is the application process, and also how much does it cost? What can someone expect to spend on this process?
Do you mean like the fees of Talenom?
Well, the fees of outside of lawyers' fees, just getting the visa itself. So what are the fees of that? What are the costs behind that? Roughly, if someone, even if you don't have exact numbers, just more or less, what can someone expect to be spending?
Well, you know, I believe here the fees will change quite a lot if you are requesting out of Spain or if you are requesting from Spain. If you are requesting out of Spain, I understand that from a lawyer who is in Spain, you will need to deal always with different consulates. And the problem is that each consulate sets its own criteria in order for you to grant the permit. Imagine that the consulate of New York, for example, they will ask you for a specific form, but maybe the consulate, I don't know, of London will ask you for another one. So I believe that it could be a little bit more complicated to ask out of Spain. But we're asking from Spain, the process is all the same. And I understand that the fees, it will be more or less nowadays like around 2,000 euros for, I mean, the whole procedure, including of course, the indicate the specific list of documents, check all the documents, assist you if you need to change any document, submit all this application. see if there are requirements before the administration, and once you get the positive resolution, of course, assist you with the fingerprinting process. So it basically will be for the main applicant around 2,000 euros, plus for I can say like for any family member like around 900, 1,000 euros.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Is it essential or necessary for someone who is here on a digital nomad visa to open a bank account in Spain?
Well, according to the Spanish law, in order to obtain this work and residency permit, there is no requirement as such, okay? But my recommendation is to open it, basically because why it's very important, because once you start working from Spain as a digital nomad, then if you live here for more than 6 months in a year, you become a tax resident in Spain. So, of course, you will need to deal with the Social Security, you will need to deal with the tax agency, and you have to pay your for the tax, then you will need to have a bank account. So my recommendation is always to have a bank account in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then does the digital nomad visa allow for travel within the EU?
Yes, yes. It allows you to travel around the EU for 90 days in 180 days period, as the other visas in Spain. You can stay in France, for example, for 90 days, go back to Spain for another 90 days, and then leave again to, I know, to another country of the European Union.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And then last but not least, is there a limit on the number of digital nomad visas that will be issued in Spain? Is the government capping to a certain amount, or is that unclear at the moment?
It's unclear for the moment. I don't think there is a limit right now. We will see. Maybe, you know, the things change very fast. So if there is a lot of applications at the end of 2023, but for now, there is no limit.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Toni. That basically wraps up our interview today. So I know for those listening at home, this was just a top line conversation to give you a general idea. If you are looking to get a Spanish digital nomad visa, I highly suggest getting in touch with the team at Talenom who can help you with this. And don't forget that if you are a member of Her Expat Life, you are entitled to discounts. So visit herexpatlife.com, register as a member so that you can access these discounts. And also this will be the first video that we're doing with Talenom in a host of videos discussing all the different elements of the digital nomad visa, one of which is a separate interview that we're going to do on the tax requirements and the tax, everything about the tax issues, requirements, concerns that people might have. So if you have any questions for the team, please make sure to comment below and we will ask and hopefully give some clarity on this. But for now, we really hope that this gave you some clarity on the most updated and recent information that is available out there. And Toni, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you, and thank you at home listening to us. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram, visit herexpatlife.com, and we will also link Talenom's details below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and like our channel, subscribe to our videos so that you can keep up to date with all the information that we supply. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all soon.